Well, good morning, everybody, and welcome to ITHive.org's Facebook Live tech show. This is episode 5. The last few episodes, we've gone over just a little bit of an introduction to our organization and what we do and why we do it. So there's, I think, just to recap a little bit, I believe we started in episode 2. We talked about the membership fee and what that entails, the $12, what that gives you. And then we talked about after that in episode 3, after that, $5 a month, the security and what that gives you. And then last episode, we discussed backup and the importance of backup. And of course, all and everything we do at ITHive.org is monitored. So we don't sell a service unless we can manage it from afar. And the basic idea and the concept behind that is you deal with problems when they happen, not after they've festered for 6 months or so. Because the longer you have a problem on your computer, the more of an issue it will become. Okay, and that, I'll probably repeat that message over and over again because in my years of doing this work, that's what I've seen, right? Everybody that's gotten into trouble, everybody that's had really bad disasters, has always been a result of an issue that's gone unchecked on a computer, or because the computer is working, right? And there were signs of trouble, but nobody really knew what to do. So that's what I give my clients, right? I help them understand that and see that. And I make them aware of things that need to be addressed. I very much leave it up to my clients, though, to follow through, right? Because another concept that I have here is that it can only be important to me as their IT support specialist if it is important to them, okay? I give the education, I put out the message, I ask people to do things, but at the end of the day, they need to action it, right? And I think this is really, really important. It's one of the biggest downfalls with technology today and how we as human beings interact with that, right? We are sold that if we go out and buy an iPhone or a Mac or a PC, our lives are going to be so much better and it'll work no problem and we won't have to do anything. But in reality, right, this is especially important if you're running a business, right? But it also applies in the residential area to some extent, okay? But when you own technology, right, it's not a bad idea to have access to trusted advice. Somewhere where you can go and you can get information that is particular to your needs, right? And an area where you will go and be able to ask questions, right? And get good answers that would help you avert future disaster. And that's what it's all about with technology, right? It works until one day it doesn't. And people always are in frantic situation when it doesn't, right? For various reasons, right? And not always, of course. But I'm just saying. So, and of course, that's what we do, right? We give you access and access to expert advice, right? And what I would think is pretty reasonable trade-off cost-wise. So that really brings us into where I want to talk today, okay? Because, and I alluded to this a little bit, that, when we buy technology, we're sold this vision that we don't really have to do anything else, right? You buy some antivirus software, slap it on the machine, and you'll be good, right? But for those of us have teenagers, for those of us have employees that are extra curious at work, and just seniors, right? And even myself, right? I have been caught. Not very often, mind you, but once in a while, it does happen, right? The bad guys, the criminals, they're getting more advanced, right? And it's easier to spot the issues, right? And it's easy for even somebody that is very familiar with technology to get caught into a situation, right? Now, as I say, I pride myself in when I say I got caught, right? It's I clicked on something that I thought was okay. Not very often, mind you, but the defenses I put in place protected me. And then as far as that goes too, the services I give my customers, I give myself as well. So I have monitoring, and I know if my antivirus software is working properly and all that stuff. So I don't do anything for my customers that I'm not doing for my own business or even my own personal life. I feel very strongly about that, right? Why would I sell a service if I'm not using it myself? It's just, why would you do that, right? So back to that need, right? And the internet provides this, like it provides so many things that are not necessarily that good for us. But if you have an issue with your computer and you go out there on the internet looking for that free answer, you're going to get in trouble sometimes, right? And you're going to run into situations where, you'd be inviting a solution that you're like, oh, great, I can get this done for free, right? But when people, they stop there, right? They say, oh, it's free, it's good, I can do that. But one thing that I have said for years, and I'll say it again here, is that everyone needs to make money. So if you're out there and you are on the internet and you see something that's free and you don't ask yourself, how is that person making money? How are they making revenue from this, right? You see ads, right? Then that's good, right? They're probably making their revenue that way, right? Obviously, if they're charging you for the service, then they're making money that way. Maybe they're giving you a trial and, they get the service later. But if there's absolutely no commitment to cost, right, you have to wonder, right? And I'm not saying that everything that's free on the internet is bad. There are some very good free things, right? But you have to understand the implications. Here's a good one. Facebook, right? It's free, right? But everything you put in the Facebook world belongs to Facebook. So to limiting degrees, I'm sure things can be argued. I'm not sure how many cases have been brought up, but that's my understanding anyway. And that's true with a lot of social media platforms, I'm sure. So it's important to understand what the trade-off is I'm getting at here, right? There's always a trade-off. There's always you're getting something and you're getting something back. Now, so it's important to understand what those things are. Now, the other thing that I want to mention here is that the other aspect of free is that there is no responsibility, right? I've seen so many people, download free antivirus software or free this or free that, right? And then they have trouble with it, and then they're wondering why they can't get help or support with it. Well, okay, how is that going to work business-wise, right? How are you going to get support for a service that you're not even paying for, right? And even further than that, I think that any responsibility for that service that you're getting would also be not exist, right? So the expectations of privacy or anything like that, I don't think you should have any, right? Because you're not paying for anything, right? And that's really important. And this is very important in the world of backup, right? Or shared files or so, right? if you're sharing stuff on a free service, right, or you're sharing files from computer to computer using a free service, right, I'm sure that the intent there is that, okay, this is a private thing, right? Companies' reputations are also there. So, that's some way where you can ensure privacy. But again, if you're not paying for the service and then something happens, right? Well, you can't really, is there a case, right? Yes, the company might suffer great embarrassment and maybe go out of business if they, privacy became an issue. But still, how are you protected, right? Whereas the opposite, if you're paying for a service, you can have expectations about that service, right? When it comes to backup, right? You're paying for backup storage, right? Well, the expectation with that payment, right, is that your data is safe and secure, and it's not being accessed or not being shared or anything like that, right? Whereas a free service, well, where's the responsibility? And how do you have that responsibility? So that's really, really important. I think that one thing that I work with my clients on is over time, we start to understand what the needs are for the client. Whether they're, residential house with a few computers and they got, pictures to protect, or a small medium business who does all their business online and they need, stable internet, or let's say a museum that has, archives, digital archives and stuff like that. All that stuff is valuable, right? And it needs to be protected. And there's cost to that, right? You can do free to a certain extent, maybe to prove concepts and stuff like that. But, if you're serious about protecting your technology and how you use technology and your access to technology, you have to invest in it, right? And if you're not, right, well, your expectations should be as such as well, right? It's just the way it goes. So I think that is a pretty good place to leave off here. I don't want to make these videos too long. A little recap of this week was kind of interesting for me because it was we reached a first. So one of my newest clients takes care of a orphanage in Haiti, and she spends part of her time up here in Canada and then part of her time in Haiti. And I think, it was just yesterday, right? Her computer wasn't running very well, and she was in Haiti at the orphanage, and she called me up. There's a little bit of communication challenge, but we overcame that pretty quickly. And I let her know, okay, well, is this a good time to work on your computer? And yeah, she said it's fine. So resolved a few issues for her, right? I think it took a total of 20 minutes, but saved her from a lot of frustration that she was having, right? Basically she had an old backup program running on her machine that wasn't doing anything. She wasn't using it, but it was consuming all the resources, right? Just out of the blue, it decided that it needed to run. So we got rid of that, and then I fixed some other issues. But there's a good case, though. That kind of thing, right? Under normal circumstances, and I'm sure there's people out there now that have those kinds of issues on their computer, and they're like really, really frustrated. And they're like, oh, what do I do? And some of them do crazy things like, throw their computer out and buy a new one, right? And today, if you buy a computer, most computers, even some of the entry-level ones, have a lot more shelf life than computers of the past. So really, to throw out your computer and buy a new computer because you have a software issue is an enormous waste of money and time and frustration, because just switching from one box to another can be an event, right? But so just to recap, ITHive.org is here to alleviate that. We're really not an expensive service, and but we want people to be happy with technology and to do that properly, right? And so if you want some more information, just check us out. Go to the website. And I think that will be the conclusion of episode 5, right? And we will talk again in the future. Next Saturday, I'm going to do this every day. My correction, live show. No editing here. So every Saturday, 10 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, we'll do this show. Please join. We'll do different subjects. I hope at one point in time to have a little bit more of a discussion going on. But we will talk about things and make it more of a live interactive show. But I'll always come up with something to talk about, right? Some bit of information. We're very bent on education and getting the right message out here so that people can start to be more aware of, how they should be managing their technology and the pitfalls around that, right? And it doesn't even matter. Of course it matters if we'd love it if you became clients of ours, but, I think more importantly, the proper use of technology is actually better for everyone, right? So, all right, with that, enough rambling on. We'll talk to you next Saturday. Okay, have a great week, everyone. See you. Bye.